Ben Courson is a pastor, author, speaker, and television and radio personality. He founded the organization Hope Generation after overcoming his own struggles with depression and suicidal thoughts. Now he speaks to others who need to know about the God who brings hope to desperate and hurting hearts. His new book, Flirting with Darkness, encourages readers not to give up and to trust in the Lord, who can transform deep pain into joy, purpose, and healing. Please welcome Ben Courson.
Ben, hi, welcome. Well, hey, I just wanted to talk about this book that just came out, Flirting with Darkness, which I think is you have such a great heart for God. People think of you as this very joyful person. On your Instagram, you're always doing fun stuff like skateboarding and jumping off of things. And so it's easy to think that, Ben Courson is just this incredibly happy guy who never has a rough day. But in your book, Flirting with Darkness, you talk a lot about this struggle that you've had in the past with depression and anxiety, and I just appreciate so much of how you've done that. Can you share with our people watching on television and those who are here in the church some of your story and sort of how you came to faith and some of these struggles you've gone through?
Yeah, I believe that people are impressed by our accomplishments, but they connect with our weaknesses. My brother used to say, our scars become our stars. And Jesus didn't just say, hear my words. He said, touch my wounds. And so that's a big part of my story, is sharing my testimony to create an empathic bond with other people, to let them know they are not alone in this struggle. So for me, when I was a kid, I remember my sister, she was joking around with my dad that she was at the dinner table. She was joking around that she was never going to be able to marry anybody. And my dad said, why not? And she said, because you always tell me to marry somebody godlier than me, and I'm the godliest person I know. So I'm going to be single the rest of my life. Well, the next day, my sister Jessica passed away in a car accident. And we received the news when my brother came home and he said, Jessica has found her man. She's found her man. The bride of Christ is finally with somebody godlier than she is. My brother, who shared that news, he died of cancer a year and a half ago. And when my dad and myself were at his deathbed, we heard this song that happened to shuffle on the radio, and it was the same song that had played at my sister's memorial service. It just happened to come on the radio. And it's the song Take My Hand and Walk from the 90s. And somebody told me, your brother has graduated when he passed away. And I just picture that song, Take My Hand and Walk. With one hand, he's walking Jessica down the wedding aisle saying, you're the bride of Christ. And with the other hand, he's walking Peter John, my brother, down the graduation aisle and saying, well done, good and faithful servant. You've graduated. Enter into the joy of the Lord. And so that's why I have such a firm conviction of the blessed hope. That's what the Bible calls us, that there is an afterlife where we are going to be present in the presence of God. And I'm going to see my brother and sister again, along with my dad's first wife passed away in a car accident. I went through a romantic heartbreak after an 8-year relationship, 10 years of suicidal chronic depression and suicide ideation, a stalker who follows me around and protests me all the time. So we go through stuff in life. Yeah. But my message is, if God could heal my broken heart, and he has, he can heal anybody.
I love it, Ben, and I'm so sorry you went through all of that. And very often people who maybe don't even have those traumatic events can go, well, of course Ben would feel that way. He lost his sister and his brother and went through all this trauma. I'm just a normal person. I have great parents, I have a great family, but I'm crippled by depression. This thing's been killing me for 15 years. It's never going to get better. What do you say to someone like that?
Well, right now, once every 40 seconds, someone around the world will commit suicide. In 2017, suicide was the second leading cause of death in my age group. And since the coronavirus, nearly half of Americans are saying that the coronavirus has harmed their mental health. So I just want to remind you, first and foremost, you are not isolated and alone in this struggle. And here's what I would say. There's this really obscure passage in the book of Genesis where it says that Abraham left. Now, if you're reading in a Gideon's Bible in a hotel room, you're like, this is why the Bible's boring. Like, great, Abraham left Ur of the Chaldees where he was worshiping the moon god. Like, what does this have to do with my life regarding any pertinence or relevance? Well, what's fascinating is back in that culture, you would not leave your tribe. You would continue to apply the trade of your ancestors, and you would recycle the cycle of your fathers, and you wouldn't go more than a few miles beyond your own home. Tomorrow looked exactly like today. So the fact that Abraham left, and the Bible says he didn't even know where he was going. The fact that he left, he was saying, in essence and in effect, tomorrow can be different from today. It's not swallowed by an infinite gray. I know there's a bolder horizon out there. And that's what I want to tell people, that tomorrow can look different from today. Just because you're going through darkness right now, remember, on your worst day with God, you are better off than on your best day without God. And when you're going through your worst, God is planning his best. So do not give up or give in, but give it everything you've got. Give everything but up, because there's a future and a hope for you.
You know, you're a pastor, and that's such a great word, by the way, Ben. And you're actually with us between services, so I really appreciate you doing that. You know, that it's staggered like that. I know you just preached. You're going to be preaching again in just a minute. But one of the things what is the main takeaway you want people to get from this book? Because this isn't just for people who are struggling with depression. It's all people who have relatives or people they love who go through these pits. They want to know how to help those people. Does your book kind of address that at all?
100%. And Bobby, there's two, I think, errors that our culture falls into. One is that we stigmatize depression. And I want to release the stigma from depression. A lot of people say, oh, if you go through depression, you're weak. Failing to realize that Abraham said, I am dust and ashes. Job said, I abhor myself and I wish I was a stillborn. Moses said, God, if you continue to treat me this way, take my life. Elijah wanted to die after being chased in a chariot by Jezebel. Jonah wanted to die after a worm ate his plant. Paul said, we despaired even of life. And Jesus said, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. So some of the greatest Bible characters knew this deep-seated sorrow. So we have to take the stigma off depression on one hand. But the second takeaway I want people to really find from this book, and an action step that will really put wheels on their hope, is this. A lot of people say, I'm just a 4 on the Enneagram. You know, I'm just learning to live with depression. That's just who I am. I'm being my authentic self. And my whole thing is, the psalmist didn't say, why are you cast down, O my soul? Keep it up. Like, keep being cast down. Keep up the good work. He said, why are you cast down, O my soul? Hope in God. So I want to encourage people that depression can be beaten. I think there's a misnomer out there that you just have to learn to live with it like a disease. But in this book, I lay down 11 weapons to arm people to the teeth with the tools and resources that they need to really defeat the dark lord of depression, because we can find hope in God.
Ben Courson, thank you so much. If you struggle with depression, or if you have a loved one who does, and you want a biblical approach to this, written by someone who's gone through it himself, I really want to encourage you to get Flirting with Darkness by Ben Courson. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. God bless you in your preaching today.
I love you, Bobby. We'll see you soon, my friend. Thanks again.